episode. Hello everybody and welcome to my channel today. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different than usual. In this episode, I'll be sharing some opinions about AI and art from two friends who are artists. The first one is Nick Twist of Life with a Twist out of New Jersey. And the second one is David DeMattia from Sleeping Dragon Studio out of Wisconsin. This is going to be a little bit different. I'm not used to interviewing people, and when I say I'm interviewing them, I mean I've sent them questions, they answered those questions on video, sent me the video, and then I've incorporated it into this video. Now both of them have some pretty interesting art and some pretty interesting things to say about how they've experienced using AI and how they see it impacting sort of their professions in the future, if at all. So let's get started. First of all, I want to say how excited I am to be able to provide this platform for these two gentlemen who I've known for, well, probably 10 years now, actually, on social media, and have met in person a few times. Now, I don't necessarily consider myself to be an artist, despite the fact that I've been drawing and sketching as long as I can remember, and some of my earliest memories are sitting at my grandmother's kitchen table and drawing everything from figures to objects to floor plans while she would cook meal for our very large family. I studied fine arts and communications in my early 20s, but I decided that fine arts wasn't going to be lucrative, so when I eventually went back to school to finish those degrees, I dropped the fine arts and stuck with communications. I've been painting on and off for about 13 years, and I'm currently resurrecting that hobby, and will be incorporating some AI stuff into my actual acrylic paintings, which, if you're interested in that, subscribe to the channel. I will likely be sharing my experiences using AI generated art in my own artwork in the future, but currently I'm just working on a painting, and so I don't have much to show about that. Before I get into the interviews with Nick and David, I wanted just to talk a little bit about my experience using AI art generators as a complete novice, just to see what you can get with a little information, because as I found with all of these AI generators and AI models, that to get it to do what you want it to do, all those fantastic things and pictures and examples that you're being shown, those people know what they're doing. They know the right terms to use. They have an understanding of the concepts behind what they're trying to do, whereas most people don't, and so it's going to be a lot more work for them to create all those beautiful images. And I'm guessing that Nick's going to be talking about that a little bit too when we get to his interview. But I did try out some of the generators, and I just wanted to talk about a couple of them because some of them are kind of fun. And the first two are NSFW ones that I went to check out. I didn't open the accounts, but they are very adult in nature. And those two AI models are Mage and SoulGen. And the SoulGen AI one actually is kind of a little bit like anime porn. So if you're into making your own anime porn, I suggest going there and opening an account. And then there's the vanilla sites that everybody's using, but the ones that I used that I really liked were Starry AI. They had less style options, but they give you 5 free credits a day. Diffusion, the nice thing about them is that you will own the rights. And that's one thing to keep in mind when you're looking at these, especially if you plan to do something like make money with your creations. You'll want to make sure that you read that fine print, that terms of service, to find out if you're the one who's going to own the rights to that image, because not all of the AI generators out there allow you to claim your own rights to what you create. And then we had Night Cafe, and they also claim that the intellectual property rights are your own. The downside is that it's a very simple mode and there's no room for refinement, at least the last time I looked into these. And again, a disclaimer, there is so much moving and changing in AI across the board that I'm sure if you watch any AI content, I'm not the first to tell you. What I'm telling you now could be out of date within an hour of when I said it, because things are changing. Some of these sites were free and now they're starting to charge. So make sure you just look into all of that before you open an account with them. And if you're me, I would suggest opening a completely separate Gmail account to deal with all of your AI models that you're using. Night Cafe also works on a credit system, but to claim the 5 credits a day, you have to sign into the model and physically claim them. And just to keep in mind for that one, when I last used it, the credit amounts don't improve the quality. They just increase the number of images it generates. So that's a good thing to keep in mind, because initially that is not what I thought. So I'm going to show you some of the things I created while I was playing around with the AI art models that I used. Some of them I used some of my own artwork, input it, and then had it change the look of those pieces. So the first one is a piece that I call Meat, which originally is a 38 by 44 inch acrylic on canvas painting that I created in 2014. So that's the original. So these are the ones that it produced, which I thought wasn't so bad. It's very interesting to see what the systems can do to your artwork. And then the second piece I used prompts describing one of my pieces of artwork, which is one of my very favorite pieces that I've done, called Ascend, which is a 30 by 10 inch acrylic on canvas, also painted in 2014. It did not, however, come up with anything close to how I was describing it. Again, even if you know what you're trying to describe, it doesn't really generate the image that you have in your head. What this illustrated to me was just how important knowing exactly the right words to use are if you're actually trying to get your AI generator to give you the image that you have in your head. And then I did just a bunch of off-the-cuff stuff using some weird prompts, and so here are some of them. And at the end of this video, I will include additional ones that I created, because I went on a tangent and I created a whole bunch of stuff that I plan on kind of using throughout the year for different projects. But I had a lot of fun with the AI generated art stuff, because you just come up with crazy ideas, and just, if you don't have an idea of what that would look like, it's really fun to see what it does look like. Just make up stuff that you've never thought about. So I'm gonna move on to the interviews with Nick and David. So my motivation behind this was that I wanted to get the opinions of some artists I know to counteract sort of the doom and gloom sentiment that is starting to surround AI when it comes to some people and how they're using it and how they see it for the future of art. Because I mean, if you've been paying attention to AI recently, there's all manner of opinion, doom and gloom. If you haven't watched my 3-part ethical series, where I break down all the ethical considerations from the environment to the impact on society to law and art, take a look at those. The link will be in the description. But for now, we're going to move on to that interview with Nick, and I will go ahead and put the questions up on the screen that prompted his responses, and then we'll move on to David, whose interview will be a little bit more informal and more organic, and then we'll come back to me and I'll say goodbye. So let's get started with the interviews.
Hello everyone, I decided to start a new piece today, and I'm going to run it through AI. Let's take a look. So like everything else I do, it's pretty much off the cuff. So I guess I'll just start with a little bit of background about myself, about art. I've been an artist ever since I can remember. My grandmother taught me everything there was to know about being creative, and I just took that idea and I've been running with it ever since. And quite literally, when I say since I can remember, because my grandmother took care of me from the time I was 6 weeks old um, during the day. So everything that she did, I did. So that's a little bit of background about where I started. What inspired me to start using AI with my general just artwork is I enjoy working from reference, and I don't like having to search for reference. I mean, I've done it for years because I'm trained in school and all that kind of stuff on how to do everything classically and whatnot. So to be able to make reference on my own really inspired me to start creating things in AI. So that's really why I jumped on board with it. So the process that I use to create AI generated work is a combination of several different programs. Stable Diffusion, which is the core of most application software designed to handle AI. Um, I use Wonder, phone app. There's also Mid Journey, and I'm sure that there's a plethora of others that are out there. Some are geared more specifically to certain types of artwork rather than being more broad, such as with Stable Diffusion. So, how I come up with my AI prompts and prompts, you know, the more descriptive the better, but it's very hard to describe to something that doesn't understand something that's non-physical. So it relies on you, meaning the user, me, myself, to really describe in depth what it is you're trying to achieve. And it's never perfect. Never perfect. I haven't seen perfect results ever. But they get so close that for me, it just becomes a reference piece. Selecting the data set points that I have are interesting because it depends on the software that I'm using. Some of them have presets that are cut and dry. Others require specific types of prompting in order to get the result that you're looking for. Um, how I come up with it is I have an idea in my head. So say I want to do a high-rise building skyline. That's the base image. I know what that looks like in my head. So I build based on what I know I want. Once I have the computer software understanding what it is I'm looking for first, then I start to build from there. So the biggest thing I would say that I've come across with my AI artwork is frustration. I have to constantly remind myself that like I'm not able to really sit down next to a machine and say, "Hey, you're going in the wrong direction here." That's where me being a person and having artistic ability and skills and other programs that offer editing enable me to remove, edit, transpose whatever I need to do in order to achieve a more desirable outcome. So in my world, AI rapidly became a tool. Just like Photoshop, as soon as I learned how to use that, became a tool. It started out as a bare bones understanding, and every day I get a clearer understanding of how I'm doing it. Um, I like to I like to think I'm not doing unethical things with AI because, again, I prefer to create things based on images that I've done, not just through text. However, I'm not going to say that I don't create based on text alone. And based on text alone can be fun. And I like to share those ideas with the world. As of right now, you cannot copyright anything that's not done by human hands. Basically, if you haven't written it, typed it out yourself, you can't copyright it. So what's the point of hanging on to these images if you can't do anything with them anyway? And even if I could make thousands of them in a day if I wanted to, over and over and over again. I'm not concerned about all these images. Um, I'm concerned about getting my reference together so that when I make my true image, I know that what it is mine. Now, one could say, oh, but an AI references other works of art when you ask for it. But that's exactly what an artist does anyway. I have to reference Van Gogh's style to paint like Van Gogh. I can't just think of it in my head and assume what it's going to look like. I have to work at the idea that, okay, I want to paint like Van Gogh. I have to learn it. I want to look at the idea that I have in my head as a Van Gogh painting already, though, because I can see it in my head, but maybe I like the reference point. And that's what I'm saying. I like the reference point. I need the reference point. The reference point is exactly what keeps me going. It's like, okay, now I don't have a picture of 10 different things sitting around me. I have only the picture that I want. It's only on the screen. I can bring it up as much as I want. I can change the colors. I can do anything that I need to do in order to get it the way that I want it to be. But the AI is just the use of AI. It's a tool, it just adds to the element. Now you have people flooding the world with all of this AI whitewash stuff, so to speak. It's just all over the place. AI this, AI this, AI this, AI this, and that's great. Put it out there. But these people that are on the internet talking about making all this money, you're just flooding the art market with the way NFTs became just a bunch of junk floating around that becomes worthless. And real art is going to rise to the top once again because everybody loves when it's handmade. You don't go and buy a vase when you're looking for handmade vases and just say, okay, I'm going to go to the vase store and buy only stuff that comes from a shipping container. You're going to go to an artist and say, I'm looking for this, or you're going to try to find a piece somewhere that reflects something that is something you were looking for, you connect to. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having a connection to, junk items. I have a lot of junk items in my life, a lot of junk in my life that I have a connection to. But I'm saying the AI driven stuff becoming this putting artists out of work scenario, I really do not feel that that's going to be how we are with it moving forward. It's just not going to be, it's not going to be a problem. I think we need to embrace it and learn how to use it and be first with it because corporations are just going to take over with it. And if they are first to the punch because they're paying the big bucks for the people to learn the things under their dime, we might as well be the people that are making the money doing that if that's what they want. I mean, again, you can't copyright an image, but that doesn't mean you can't be clever enough to come up with the stock images that they want to use. Again, Shutterstock relies on artists to stock their images. You're still going to need to do that, but you're going to need to now learn how to be an artist on top of being an AI artist because you have to physically touch and do things with these things if you want to claim copyright over that so that a company or yourself is protected because you can't just put an advertising piece out there and claim it's yours when someone steals it if it's not yours because currently, as I said, in 2023, you cannot copyright anything that's AI driven. I see AI going forward and just driving every industry in some capacity. But again, it's going to take the human element to train the AIs to do what they need. And I don't think that there's ever going to be, in my opinion, a non need for human interaction because you can't just have people sitting around doing nothing and doing nothing. You're going to need to have something there. And I think with the proper usage of the tools, it can just be a way to express ourselves. And I encourage everyone to pick up an app at the very least on your phone that you can play around with. Do a free trial. See if you like that app. It doesn't matter which one it is. Don't worry about mainstream, this, that, who's using this, who's using what. You get comfortable with an app that you like and you try the parameters out. As you get comfortable with it, move on to others. See what they're all about. Some are more advanced than others. Some are more ease of use than others. It really depends on what your taste is and what your level of experience is with your prompting. If you have no experience at all, that's the beauty of this. You can just say anything and it will come up with a concept based on what you put in. So I would say here's to the future when it comes to AI, and I'm on board and ready to go. So bring on the flying cars.
Hi there, I'm David DeMattia, and I run and operate Sleeping Dragon Studios. We make everything from museum displays, interactive educational things, to 9 foot tall talking Christmas trees. Basically, anything that you want designed for entertainment, for education, for just about anything uh, we can do. Now, being a small company, there are some challenges we have, like writing any kind of manuals, well, any kind of writing for newspaper, ad copy. So when this whole AI chat GPT came around, I kind of thought that was pretty interesting. So I started playing with it at the suggestion of Frankie. So here's, I'm learning some new software here. This is the final Word document that I created, and you don't have to read it. But the gist of it is, when I first started ChatGPT, I gave it a simple suggestion like write ad copy for a Christmas-based escape room. That's the current project that I'm working on. I'm designing and building an escape room. And it gave me something very simple. When I added to the questions, and it added to the material. I said, okay, so let me flash over to this again. And my final question was, describe an exciting Christmas theme escape room where Jack Frost kidnaps Santa Claus and locks him up. Find Santa so you could rescue Christmas. Rooms include a workshop, elves break room, and a Radio Shack. Now, for those of you too young, Radio Shack was the name of the little room on a ship, battleship or something, where the radio was kept. So any little room anywhere on land or anywhere is called a Radio Shack. Santa is hidden in the final room of the escape, the Radio Shack. I included the rooms so ChatGPT could include those in its ad copy. Now, that was the last question. I added the city, St. Croix Falls, Wisconsin, in there too. And I'll tell you what, it gave me pretty much a page of description that I could either use the entire page of information on like the social media we're going to create for the room. I can edit it down for any, if we're going to do any newspaper ads or any kind of like online advertising, things like that. But I was very impressed with what I asked it to do. And being a very small company with nobody dedicated to write anything, I thought this is going to be very interesting. I'm also an artist, and I do the art shows in the Midwest in the summer. I'm going to be cutting back on that because my back isn't getting any younger, and I like doing more of this design work. I don't see ChatGPT or any AI helping me with my art because I enjoy making my art, and I'm not like a fine artist where they're pushing boundaries and doing odd things. I'm sure you've seen some of the simulations that are being done on Facebook where they're taking people and doing some odd things. That's not the kind of art I'm interested in. Or if I do any videos, that is not what I'm interested in. So, my suggestion is, if you are in my boat, you need ad copy written for any of the social medias, or for, I believe they call them print newspapers. I think it's number one. Bad for art, good for words. Thank you very much.
And that was the interviews with Nick and David. I want to thank Nick and David for helping me out on this project, and I hope to do many more projects with them both in the future. If you want to check out any of their artwork, check out the links in the description below to their websites and their social media sites where they have plenty of things for you to look at. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. I'd love to hear what you think about AI and art. And as always, have a wonderful day.